On Monday, Omnicom made its announcement of some specifics around the structure that will exist now for the included Interpublic businesses that it acquired and closed on last week. And the different pieces of the announcement include some semi-strategic in the sense of eliminating some brand names. We could argue that's strategic, but more tactically, some consolidations, some personnel appointments, and collectively, it seems pretty clear that the business is going to consist mostly of Omnicom executives in the most senior positions, with very, very few exceptions. It also seems that they will position some of the business units for future disposition, which is potentially significant. It sounds like maybe a tenth of the company will be disposed of, which actually maybe is not enough, you could argue, but that is going to be a feature of this business over the coming months and quarters.
You mentioned that some brands are being folded, and a big one is, of course, IPG Media Brands. What's the significance of that, and what does this mean on the buying side?
I think it's more significant, less that Media Brands is being folded in, but more that they're keeping Initiative, and Mediahub. They will have six, count them, six different media agencies. At least it's not six or seven. And so with six different media agencies, um, that's arguably five too many. So I
Why do you
think
think that
there's a
is?
surprise. One can surmise that based on the strategies they've had in the past, that they, along with Interpublic, have believed in the importance of individual agency brands, which can justify their existence if they can create slightly different cultures, they can maybe cultivate different client bases, but they mostly have to be able to attract talent differently. I would argue, and we would argue in Madison Wall, that the investment required to keep and support the separate brands and the extra layers of management that follow from having separate brands are way more costly than any benefits you get from culture that might be unique to an agency brand. There could still be culture inside of a more larger monolithic media agency brand. But nonetheless, they are believers in media agency brands. And again, it's kind of surprising. Like they consolidate their creative agency networks into three, but they kept six media agencies.
Okay, well, we'll see where that goes. Next month at CES, Omnicom is rolling out Omni Plus. What is that exactly? And is there anything like it in the marketplace?
I mean, I think the details of what it is remain to be seen. We can imagine. But data is an important part of any given agency. The use of AI-based tools is an important part of every given agency. But beyond that, I don't think we really know with a lot of precision what exactly it is that we're going to see.
With this merger, will it force the hand of WBP and Publicis? Are they going to have to start consolidating as well?
I don't think that this transaction necessarily means anything for WPP and Publicis outside of a short-term opportunity to attract new people and clients. Uh, it would be shocking if there wasn't a little bit of chaos inside of Omnicom with all of these changes. As people are learning who they work for and the environment they work in, when presented with a greener pasture, there will be many people who will take it. It's necessarily the case of what would happen inside of a merger of this kind. And frankly, we've never seen a merger of this kind inside the agency industry, at least where you have two similarly sized entities where one entity's management is basically taking over almost entirely everything. So if you're a former Interpublic employee, and frankly, in some cases, an Omnicom employee, and you don't know what the political landscape is for you inside the entity, your eyes are going to be open for opportunities. And I think it's safe to say that clients will follow the talent that they want to work with, at least in many cases, not all, but in many cases. So where Publicis and WPP think they can make an opportunity happen for individuals who can bring business with them, um, that will probably happen in some cases. It would be surprising if it didn't happen to some degree. But in terms of the need to be bigger for the sake of being bigger, no, it's not necessary. It's a strategy. It's a way to go. It doesn't necessarily need to be the way that WPP or Publicis will go.
And what does success look like for this newly combined holdco?
Well, the way that Omnicom would define success, it might be different than how we in Madison Wall or a lot of others might look as at success. Generally speaking, they have tried to concentrate investors' minds on metrics like return on invested capital. And if they can improve return on invested capital, and there's a number of levers that they can use to do that, then it's a success. Now, we could also look at it through the lens of, well, can they be, produce incremental margins? Can they produce incremental organic growth? Maybe. One problem is we don't really know, and probably will never know what their real organic growth or margins are, at least on a comparable basis, because they do not disclose comparable revenue numbers to any other agency group. And going forward, we won't have Interpublic's numbers. So we don't really know. And I think anyone who's reporting or covering what their organic growth numbers are without also noting that their numbers do not match the way the industry defines growth is kind of doing a disservice to anyone who's consuming that information. So we won't really know from that vantage point anyways, but return on invested capital is a metric that you could assess. Now, I'd argue that the problem with calculating return on invested capital is it's very backward looking. It's not forward looking. It's hard to produce those forecasts without knowing a lot of what they're planning to do going forward.